I'd like to clear up any confusion. I'd give you kind of a statement and how I felt about it.
Yes, let me do this. This is what an amazing night this is, folks. Joining me right now on the Tate LaBianca radio program is longtime Charles Manson friend, supporter, and just all-around great guy. Please welcome Grey Wolf, making a first-time appearance out of the blue on the program. Grey Wolf, thank you, my friend, for coming on.
Hey, quite welcome, Brian.
Go right ahead. What was your take on all this past week?
Well, I was at the ceremony, and it was a beautiful ceremony. It was dignified. It was honorable. It was respectful, and there were friends, supporters, and relatives there, and Charlie, and the major takeaway from it, myself and my close friends involved, was that it was an amazing day of respect, of honoring a brilliant life. The ceremony was, a lot of people got a lot out of it, I'd like to say. It was beautiful, and Mr. Freeman, I thought, was a very, very fine host.
Mm-hmm. Very well. Were you surprised or anything like that going into it, or were you open-minded to benefit of doubt, or are you just going to take it as it was presented? What was your thoughts going into it? Did you have any preconceptions?
I don't want to get too personal. I mean, because I'm just one person, and my take is just my take. But personally, I respect Jason, and I went into it trying to hold that respect and just being open-minded to what he was going to present. And I know he was trying to please a lot of people. He had a lot of energy coming at him from this way and that way. Right. And he had a short time to get things done. But I think he had some really good people around him. And I thought things were handled in a professional manner, and people did the best they could. And evidently, as unimaginable that it wouldn't happen, that there was one simple problem, and people like to grab a hold of the negative and expand on it. But
right.
I just like to say that the positive far outweighed anything that anybody with negative intentions could do. Basically, a friend of mine said that was untouchable. He said what happened there was untouchable. Mm-hmm. Hearts were opened, emotions flowed, memories were shared, and the people that ceremony was for, Charlie's old-time supporters, people that were close to him, Jason's family. It was just a feeling that went throughout the gathering, and I feel that whatever recriminations and negativity and snipping and sniping are just they can be ignored, and it would be good to minimize that kind of thing right now, because the overarching purpose of the weekend was to find closure for the people involved, mm-hmm. and to honor a life of light and love, a truth teller. And I feel that was done in a very tasteful manner.
Wow, that coming from you, Grey Wolf, I'd take this as the gospel. Then it's amazing. Basically, then all of the people that Charlie wanted to get along together while he was alive came together for the services yesterday. Basically, right? Would you say that?
Yeah. I think you're being very very intuitive about it. Yes, indeed. In fact, people were saying that same thing. It was a real powerful weekend. Yeah.
Wow. I can feel it in you.
Yeah.
That's amazing. So, who would have thought then, out of this mess that it looked like it was a couple of weeks ago, or for the last few weeks, that something so great would come out of it? Then, from your all's point of view, right? I mean, you could not foresee this happening, I would think, right?
That's correct. I think that my emotions are still at the surface, but so I'm trying to measure myself right now.
Sure.
But I think that's true. I think there were a lot of chances for things to go wrong and get a little crazy. Just from an emotional standpoint, between folks that had important things to do in a very short time and and a certain amount of energy to get it done with. You know what I mean?
Yes.
And schedules to keep and tickets to get and kids to get babysitters for, and we ended up. I think both sides, so to speak, ended up putting themselves in each other's shoes and making just trying to be just sort of in the honor and the presence of the old man, of Charlie, like this importance of this occasion far outweighs this small little emotions that we may generate between each other with having problems of communication or understanding. So, and then it seemed to be a power of that kind of love and understanding took over, and there were angels in the air, so to speak.
Sure.
Yeah.
And I guess now, like I told Billy Graham a while back there earlier tonight, you guys that took part in this, y'all have a special bond now that no matter what, I guess will never be broken, and you guys have a pact that you guys can share together for the rest of your lives through the one that you guys love the most.
Well, that may be true on a personal level, and it remains to be seen, of course, but that's part of the feelings right now. But also, we had another feeling of, like, people like yourself, people that wanted to be there and couldn't. There was a limited time and a limited amount of space, limited amount of energy to spend.
Sure.
And everybody couldn't be invited, but we also... we mentioned that during the service, that we know, hundreds of people who love Charlie and who have revered him through the years in one way or another, and have been touched by his generosity and his kindness and his understanding and his vision and his wisdom, and it's changed, lives across the world. And we also included everybody in us being there. Like, we happen to be honored by being able to represent, but we had everybody in mind. We spoke about that.
Right.
And especially the people that are still suffering under society's judgments, the people who are physically unable to attend.
Right.
And just across the board, and a universal feeling of, humbleness, being able to be there.
Right. Yeah, you were part of a rare group there, certainly. Wow, well, that's pretty powerful testimony there, Greg Wolf. I guess that would you say that's kind of what you would that set you? I mean, that's what you needed, probably, right? I mean, that it couldn't have come at a better time, and certainly. That's correct. That's correct, and. I guess leading up to that, you didn't know which way it was going to go. You probably didn't know if you would ever be able to experience something like that at all anyway. So Right. Nobody knew what was going to happen, from the standpoint of, at the minute the court made the decision, it was like, here we go. I mean... You don't know if everything's up in the air at that point, and you don't know to pack up or get your stuff ready or what the deal is, right? Yeah.
Yeah, and I guess people are talking about the fact there were cameras there, but Jason was already involved with a production company, which people know that
Right.
He had already contracted with and was following his path and his
Sure.
his life and so forth. And so, but those people were also very respectful, very intent on proper security, and we had nothing but good experiences with everybody in the building, everybody associated with Jason.
Yeah, that's basically what Billy Graham said earlier.
Well, I'm really glad. I just happened to hear a little bit of what you were talking about, and I thought, well, I don't have any idea what Billy said,
Right.
But I respect the man, and I just thought, well, I'm going to put in my 2 cents because my sense is very positive of the happening and the ceremony and everything involved, and I feel like people should really take a deep breath that they cared about Charlie and couldn't happen to be there, and just know that they were included in spirit and in thought. And all the people that I know, there's people out there who've been involved with Charlie, telephone calls, writing, collecting, whatever, and keeping their eyes on the situation. And I want to say it wasn't meant as an exclusive gathering. It was meant as an inclusive gathering. And we just like to extend all the positive feelings we have now about that to everybody that couldn't be there but wish they were, and and to assure people that the proper respects were paid, and the honor was paid, and the dignity was held.
Nice. Very nice. I think that's. I think a lot of people are happy to hear that. That weren't there. Including myself.
Yeah,
I didn't have a dog in the fight, but as a human being, okay, I'm happy to hear that. As a human being to another human.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good. I'm glad. I'm glad that.
No.
Did Billy describe the scene, the casket and so forth?
Yeah. He didn't get too descriptive about that. He said it was positioned in a way that if you might not have wanted to see, you didn't have to.
Right.
And then
right.
You could. What was your? Billy said. Well, let me just ask you first, and then I'll see how you match up with his answer. What did you think of Charlie in terms of his appearance? Did he look good to you for given what he'd been through?
Oh yeah, he looked like a general. He looked like a Buddhist monk. He looked like a pharaoh.
Wow.
He looked like an emperor. There was homage paid. People placed things of.
That must have been a relief to you as well, then, Grey Wolf, because you got to think, like, if he's in that situation that he was in for the last, I guess, since he passed away, 4 or 5 months now.
That's right. That's right. That's what I mean.
Yeah, you have to wonder what you have to going into it. You have to wonder what you're about to see.
That's right, and that's what I mean. Everybody involved was professional, and they did the best they could, and it just turned out.
Wow.
There was not any anyone upset.
Grey Wolf, I got to ask you this personally. Tell us personally, because you have to have feelings on this, I would imagine. For you specifically, as close as you were to Charlie, which I don't think many people were closer, if any, and then to have that happen with the cell phone incident, and then that kind of cut you back a little bit with him. It had to be a great feeling to spend the final moments of his existence on the earth, albeit his body, even just his body. That had to be good for you, though, to be able to spend a day or whatever with him physically outside of the prison. Well, does that make any sense, or am I off there?
Well, no, you're intuitive again, but actually, I feel like. And this is all just personal.
Yes, that's what I'm talking about. Personally, right, because I know your story a little bit. And so personally, I'm saying it had to really mean something for you.
Well, the closure of it does. And like I said, my emotions are so close to the service now because I really haven't had a chance to even sit down and reflect a little bit today.
Right, I bet. Right.
and trying to notify everybody that needs to be notified and taking calls and so forth. But I was personally feeling that when Charlie left his body, when he made his change of form, that I felt that he experienced freedom and a power, a renewed power, without really losing any contact in the spiritual world from the love that he experienced here. Mm-hmm. If that makes sense.
Yep, I understand that completely. Yes.
So I didn't really feel that the body was, in my personal life, I didn't feel like the body was of essence of concern. But I was able to separate that,
right?
The life and the love and spirit from whatever happened to the body, and so from that standpoint, this wasn't anything overwhelming as far as relief or renewed contact or anything like that. However, what I was concerning myself most was with how other people. I wanted to be close with people that loved him, mm-hmm. and I wanted them to be happy with the proceedings, of course, and that's sort of what I concentrated my efforts toward, and also being in close contact and understanding with Jason and his folks, so that when it started working out good, it just kind of grew, and like I said, it became a community feeling, and I hope Billy felt the same way and was able to express that. And I met him for the first time there, so and he spoke some great words there, and I just felt like there was a sort of a universal feeling, like even the little negative thing is like, Charlie's life was full of positive and negative drama that just intertwined and grew, and
yep.
was always mind-blowing to the people around him, and this was not any different. So
wow,
it was a typical Charlie Manson episode, let me put it that way. People, the power of it, and
even on his way out, he gave it to you.
Yeah, his ashes were returned to the wildness again, and he's the ashes are in the wildness, and I think it's the mountains loom over, and the wind blows, and it's always good, always good.
Well, that's great. I appreciate this testimony tonight as well, Grey Wolf. Coming from you, I can't tell you how great this is to have you on the program and hearing your account of this.
Well, I'm glad you feel that way.
Well, yeah, I do. And Billy said about the same thing you did in terms of how this came out. So.
Well, that's great to hear.
And then we had Tony Miller call in, who was there as well, and he also said the same thing. So.
Oh, good.
Yeah,
I
just love the fact that some of you people came together yesterday mm-hmm. that normally would not have talked to each other, normally had misconceptions about each other. Do you remember me telling you one time, I think you might recall this, I said to you, man, if you and John Michael could just talk one time, I think you guys would find you have a lot more in common than you think. And you were open to that. And now it finally came to be yesterday. I'm just glad all that happened for you guys. I really am.
Well, yeah, I'm glad to hear. Yeah, we're all glad too. I think it's it goes to show that it's possible. Actually.
Yes. That's right. That's a good observation of that. Yes. Mm-hmm. Well, Grey Wolf, thank you again. We'll let you get going. Listen, will you come back on with us another time, and maybe we could talk a little more, in depth about just the whole relationship and everything.
Well, I appreciate you, Brian. I appreciate you too, man. I appreciate the opportunity to speak with you now on this show, and let's talk privately later on about
sure.
in the future.
That sounds good, my friend.
Okay, I do appreciate it.
I appreciate you calling in, and I'm sure the people do as well. First time ever on the Tate LaBianca radio program, Gray Wolf calling in and giving us his also firsthand account of the funeral services yesterday for Charles Manson. Gray Wolf, thank you again, my friend. We'll talk soon down the road.
Okay, Brian, love you, man.
I love you back, my friend. Have a good night, my friend. We'll talk to you soon. Okay.